introduction. So for the first guest, I would like to invite Mr. Zhennan Low to share about his journey and experience in the elderly care field. Hi, Zhennan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. Hi. So for the first part, we would like to listen to your sharing about journey and motivation. So could you please share the moment or experience that inspired you to engage with the community-led organization? More specifically, like your story with Code for Singapore. So yeah.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for inviting me to this event. So Code for Singapore is actually part of a global network called Code for All. There are various chapters around the world. There's like Code for US, Code for Australia. So for me, it was basically how I came into contact with this organization was I had a work event in San Francisco, and I was looking through meetups for some events to attend. I saw this, thought it was quite interesting. I attended it, and I was blown away, literally, because it was a very dynamic. Basically, it was just a community of coders, and then they were just building tech projects within their community. So for San Francisco, they were looking at things like a bicycle map around the city where they can show you which are like potholes, where is the roads that are under construction. So simple projects like that, but it is there is some social impact that the community can benefit from. So after that, I thought maybe if I come back to Singapore, I could join something like that, but there wasn't any such organization. So I said, okay, why don't we just start something? And that's how it all began. Yeah.
Wow, that's really inspiring because like when you say, okay, I want to do something, when you back to your country and you see nothing and you decided to become the founder, it's really inspiring. So
Yeah.
reflecting on Code for Singapore three highlight projects are related to elderly care service, Ally Shoprite, Meta or Wiser. So what are the future plans for expanding Code for Singapore into natives, especially aimed at improving elderly care experiences? So could you please share more about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you guys also mentioned like the senior population is going to double by 10 years time, right? So it's the same thing for Singapore. We are an aging population, one of the few key Asian countries that we have a very senior population and we don't have enough. I mean, our birth rates are also very low. So this is something that we see as a future problem. There's a lot of issues relating to seniors, right? And I think the few projects that you mentioned, Wiser and all that, is we're trying to solve some of the few issues that seniors face. Social isolation is one thing. Also things like dementia is also another issue. And also falls is something that is it's quite life-threatening, but it's something that everyone is trying to solve. The thing with falls is that if a senior were to fall, basically their so there's lifespan, which is how long you live, but then there's health span, which is your quality of life. So if someone were to fall, like their health span actually reduces quite a bit. Your quality of life goes down very, very much. So that's something that we were trying to work on. In fact, that's the main project that we are actually focusing on at this point.
Yeah. So thank you. So I see the future plans you mentioned about like working with the senior and like some problem like senior face isolation or the issue. I really appreciate the efforts of the team on doing that. But like I think maybe on the way to work with the solution, maybe you face with some unexpected challenges, right? So could you share unexpected challenges that arose during your work with Code for Singapore, particularly in project aimed at elderly care? And how were these challenges addressed, and what were the learning from navigating the challenge? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll share two main challenges. One is an internal challenge within Code for Singapore, and the other one is the challenges within the beneficiaries or the seniors. So the first challenge in Code for Singapore is so we're a non-profit and we are all made up of volunteers. Me, myself, Scott, the co-founder, we all have day jobs. So the thing with working with volunteers is we don't really own their time. I mean, we don't pay them a salary. So a lot of our projects are very dependent on who comes on board. Yeah, so for this particular project with the senior, we managed to find like the A team. So we have got like a project lead who has had 20 years of tech experience. We had two students who were basically like the coders, we had the CTO. We even had like the champion for it. So we had one staff from a senior care home who was really passionate about it, and she was the one that was telling us a lot about the situation on the ground. So currently at this point of time, like the two students have graduated and they're kind of like into their jobs already. So we're down with our coders. So things are quite fluid. It's very variable with volunteers. So we're always trying to get more people to know what we're trying to do and trying to get them on board. So that's the internal challenges. The external challenges, which is working with the seniors, is I think it's basically like the reality of the situation. So our solution is a fall detection using sensors, right? And we wanted to detect falls with two sensors. One of them is infrared, and the other one is a sound sensor. So we can see like a visual of the senior, but if the senior were to fall, then the sound sensor would also act as a sort of like a double confirmation that a fall has happened. So we had this really great idea. We did like the research, we did the planning, all of that. And then when we went down to the actual senior home, we realized that the sound detection will not work at all. For a few reasons. For one is the right below where we want to do the test, there's actually a karaoke room. And they blast the music really loud. Every afternoon, there's a karaoke session going on with the seniors, right? So that basically just destroys the whole. I mean, you won't be able to detect anything. The second thing is that there are actually seniors who are like hard of hearing, so they're partially deaf, right? So they would be actually shouting within a room which is just across, right? Which also affects the sound. So these are just some of the challenges that we thought, okay, sound sounds great, let's try it out. But when you go down to the actual site and you realize that, okay, maybe we might have to either do away or find some kind of work around it. Yeah, so these are just some challenges. Many more, but these are the two prominent ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear your story, I feel like, wow, how can you and your team like work together to get through everything? Because like yeah, that's like a big challenge is when we do stuff and when we try to work with the community. So that's why I am a little bit like curious about so to do the code for Singapore, you need to like have some involvement from the community, right? So and to invite the member from the community to join to work with you, you need to have like show the outcomes of the project, how it look like. So that's why my question for you here, like, can you describe a specific project or initiative by Code for Singapore that significantly improve the quality applied for the elderly community, and how did this initiative address the uniqueness, and what were the observable outcomes that you have made with the teams? Yeah.
Sure. So maybe I can share like a very early project that we did. It was actually during COVID. So we wanted to solve the issue of social isolation in elderly. There were seniors who were not wanting to go out. They feel very lonely. Even when they're staying with their family, there is also that loneliness because they don't have or they are unable to connect with people of their age, or maybe just they've kind of like been moved overlooked, right? So we thought of the solution of actually linking them up with like the younger community through like a social media platform. So the whole idea is basically on this platform, it's an anonymous platform where the community can post their questions, live questions or any kind of questions they want, and it's anonymous, so you don't have to worry that people will know who you are. And the idea is to get seniors to share their life wisdom on this app, also anonymously as well, so they don't also have to worry about their privacy and all that. So because we did realize that one way to actually get seniors to be connected to the community is actually through not to see them as recipients of help, but to actually allow them to be helped to the community. So sort of like for them to give back to society. That's one way that studies have shown that actually they feel a bit more purposeful. They don't feel left out. They feel that they're more needed and wanted in society, which is the idea to solve that isolation. So yeah, we did actually do a prototype. It worked out quite well, but yeah, we just left it at there. Just lack of like I say, I mean, challenges with working with volunteers and all of that. But during that prototype stage, we do see some conversations going on, which was actually quite genuine. So like people talking about so there was one incident where there was a young mother who was struggling with taking care of a kid as well as working, and then she was posing some questions, and then there was a senior that was saying, like family is important and all that. So yeah, I mean, there was quite good genuine conversations that came out of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice. So I feel like you see your problems and you're thinking about the ideas on how to solve the problems, and I think that's really cool. But like so like can you share more about like the what's the major challenge encounters when introducing the new technological solution and inviting different stakeholders to join your solution, and what strategy proved effective in overcoming these bad barrier. So because like when you have the solution and you introduce with the community, right? So like how to like in when you introduce and when you invite different stakeholder, how you motivate them and ask them to join. So yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. So yeah, that is, I think having stakeholders is really the key. So coming back to the fall detection project, this was actually done many years ago, probably about five, even before COVID. We had this project. We did a proof of concept, and then we put it into our virtual shelf, right? We put it into a folder. Because we did the proof of concept, it showed that it worked, but then we didn't have the stakeholders involved. And how we actually managed to restart this project was getting the right stakeholders. So it all started with a news article. So a news article that featured one of our volunteers, and he mentioned that they were doing this, or we did this, right? And from that news article, because there was some publicity, then we actually got like the key stakeholder, which was the senior care home, who was interested in that. And we actually had like the universities as one of our regular stakeholders. So we work with them every year or two terms on various social projects. So then you can see that, okay, the picture or the ecosystem is starting to build up. We have the beneficiary, which is the senior home. We have like the institute or the university. We have us. So it seems to be, I mean, like there is sort of like an ecosystem to actually start this going. So all we needed to do was to get the volunteers. We did a shout out. We managed to get some of them through my networks on LinkedIn. I managed to rope in a couple of advisors, and some of spoke with an investor, who gave us some advice and all that. So yeah, stakeholders are important. If we didn't have, it's like all the stars align, and then you're able to actually work on the project. If we didn't have the university, or we didn't have the news article, I mean, we might not be able to have done this project. Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's just, yeah, one of the challenges.
Okay. So I have the same belief with you about like the stakeholder is the key when we do the project. Especially when you work for this community. So that's really the key. And thank you. So your insight have been truly inspiring. And your thoughtful contribution have given us a lot of reflect on, and also will undoubtedly enrich our discussion. So now